This is a video about feeling your emotions and dealing with your feelings without any of the bullshit. There's too much stuff out there that will either try and turn you into a robot, or will turn you into somebody who's so emotionally stunted that whenever anything happens, it becomes a big catastrophe, and whatever you're feeling becomes your identity of the day. I'm going to tell you how to approach your emotions in a real way so that you can feel them, but then make a conscious choice about what you're going to do with them so that you can live your real life, keep going real, and stay in the zone. When it comes to our emotional lives, we often have a tendency to make things more complicated than they need to be. That's because the ego loves complexity and complications, so we don't have to grow through our familiar way of identifying, face whatever's buried beneath the surface, integrate the shadow self and all those hidden parts that have been sent into exile. And so we make the whole idea of emotions this complicated, mystical thing. What you really need to know to simplify and get real is a magical phrase that's really helped me, which I believe came from John Bradshaw, who's just a great author in general. He said emotions are emotion, energy in motion. What that means is that your emotions are constantly moving. They're in motion anyway. There's a natural motion, which I believe is a natural drive towards wholeness. And if you want to have the healthiest relationship with your emotions, you simply need to allow them to move in the way that they need to move. But what happens is we block that movement with our own bullshit, with our own identity, with our own beliefs, and it causes resistance, or it causes us to do things with the emotions that are totally unreal. That's what causes problems, and it causes our emotions to become even more complicated and them to linger when they don't need to. Well, this is all very bleak, just like my emotional life. Normally, when people feel an emotion arising that they'd rather not feel, they instantly and instinctively react by doing one of two things. They either freak out and suppress the emotion, send it into hiding, pretend it's not there, or two, they decide to instantly do something with it. A good example is maybe you're in a toxic relationship, or you've just ended one, and your lust is still bubbling away beneath the surface. The lust rises, and you get tempted to either pretend it's not there, put it into exile, or you do something with it, text your ex or whatever, that you know is actually bad for you. It's unreal. It's not aligned with your vision and who you want to be. Both of those things are an unreal approach, because you're not allowing the emotion to move in the way that it really wants to be moving. Instead, this is perfect timing. It needs to move like the stream. It has a direction that it wants to flow in, and if you stop getting in the way and can just observe it, then you can decide what you actually want to do with it that's more real for you and your vision and where you want to take yourself as a human being. Resistance to an emotion comes in many ways. You can literally just pretend it's not there, hide from it, be a robot, act like you're not feeling what you're feeling. But another really common form of resistance that doesn't look like resistance is when people become identified with their feelings. They become completely enmeshed with them, and they think that whatever they're feeling is who they actually are. This seems like it's not resistance, because it seems like they're not feeling it. I'm going to totally slip on my ass, by the way. It seems like they're not feeling it. Sorry. It seems like they are feeling it, because they become identified with it, and so they become so angry, or they become so sad or depressed or whatever it is. But as soon as that becomes part of your identity, you've stopped that natural movement, that flow that we were talking about. You stop the emotion, whoa, energy in motion. This path is so fucking muddy, and so you don't allow it to move in the way it needs to move. Your identity becomes a kind of conceptual block to the natural flow, the natural movement. But it seems like you're not resisting it, when actually you've become it. And if you become it so much that you don't want to let it go anywhere, because your identity gives you a sense of security, then you just stop the flow and you end up messing your life up. So the first unreal way of dealing with our emotions is to pretend it's not there, to suppress it. The second unreal way is to reactively do something with it that you haven't consciously thought about, just to get the feeling out of you, get the energy out of you. This is kind of moving the energy at least, but in many ways, it just reinforces negative energy. For example, if you're angry and you start smashing someone's face in, you might get a pleasure from that, maybe. And so in the short term, you're just going to keep using that as a way of dealing with your anger, or some other unhealthy thing, not the best example. And then the anger isn't actually serving you. It becomes something that masters you because it's telling you what to do, instead of you stopping, thinking about what's real, focusing on your principles and your vision, instead of the feelings themselves. And you're letting the wave take you somewhere you don't want to go, instead of riding the reality wave to your real life. Let's look at how you can do that. So the real approach to dealing with your emotional stuff is, drum roll please, to do nothing. Like literally to do nothing. Like when it first arises, just leave it, let it be. Emotions are like a wave, which means they start small, they rise, they reach the crest, they fall, and then you can do what you need to do with it. The problem is, so many of us freak out when that wave starts to crest that we never get to the crest. It never makes it. And so we just end up suppressing or putting that shotgun erratic energy into places where it doesn't need to go. And so we totally lose it. We lose mastery of it. If you can step back and observe it, which simply means doing nothing, you let it do its thing, you ride the wave, surf the wave, and then when it calms down again and you've tamed it, it's like taming a wild horse or something, then you can decide where you want to take it, what direction you want to move it in, what you want to do with that energy. Like I said though, the problem is many of us maybe get to the crest, but then we freak out, and so we send it like a tsunami crashing all over our lives, or we identify with it at the crest and don't let it fall, or we just do all these other things that cause us to be repressed and lost and confused and to add more fragmentation to our lives. And then we wonder why we have a problem with our emotions. And so if you want to be real about it, just observe it, let it be, ride the wave, and then you can make a conscious choice. So I'm literally in the middle of nowhere now. It's very misty, it's getting dark. There's these big ass black puddles all over the place. It's a bit like riding through the emotional terrain. This is another one of those bad metaphors I like to use, but let's pretend it works. You're walking through this terrain, you don't really know what's going on, you don't know where it's going to lead you, but you do know that if you keep walking the path, then it's probably going to work out. As long as you don't see the path as a threat and you work with it, you allow the path to take you where you need to go, and then when it's time, you end up where you wanted to be all along. Something like that. A really great way to practice this thing that I've been saying about emotions and the wave is that you can do it with your urges. I gave up coffee at the start of the year for about 100 days. I'm back on the coffee now. But anyway, during that time, I had so many little urges, so many pulls towards getting caffeinated and getting all frenetic and worked up. But I could use this same technique that I'm talking about with my urges. At first, I get that little craving for some coffee, and it would rise and rise and rise. It'd reach its peak. And as long as I resisted at that moment, the wave would crash after cresting, and I could live in alignment with the vision that I had for myself back then, which was to give up coffee for 100 days. This is a really good way to practice, because if you can do it with your urges and your instincts, you can do it with your emotions. It's the same thing. Energy and motion. It rises, it falls, you let it go. The important thing to remember is that all these little waves are not you. As soon as you identify with them or get too fixated on them, then you take yourself out of reality. The truth is, the waves are just waves, but you're the ocean, the awareness. The waves rise, they fall, but the ocean of awareness, if you want to call it that, what's real always remains. And that's the key to understanding all of this. What's real is always real. If you tap into that real part of yourself, you can watch these waves do their thing, and then you can get on with your life without being repressed or without doing all kinds of emotional things that don't serve you. So a pheasant just jumped out of this heather and scared the shit out of me. But of course I'm just gonna ride the wave of having this shit scared out of me and just get on with my life. Another bad metaphor. But anyway, the point of this video is that if you can ride that wave, then you can make a choice. This is the key thing. So many people get obsessed with their feelings, over-identified with them, blah, blah, blah. Stop them moving, stop the energy in motion, and they allow their life and what they do with it, the choices they make, to be dictated by their feelings rather than their vision and their principles. Your vision and your principles are where you're trying to take yourself. To a place that's real, that's aligned with your real values, your real goals, the integrated version of you that's face the shadow self, isn't over-identified with the fragmentation of ego, moving towards wholeness. That is your vision. That's where you want to go, whatever that looks like for you. Your principles are the guiding beliefs that are going to take you there. And if you let your feelings, which are temporary, make your decisions for you, rather than, this is weird, wow, literally in a horror movie. But anyway, if you let your feelings make decisions for you, which are temporary, rather than your principles and your vision, which are permanent because they're coming from a place of realness, and what's real is always real, then things are never going to work out, because you're going to constantly be moving in different directions as different waves arise and they pull you in different directions, rather than knowing that you're the ocean and you can go wherever you want to go as long as it's real. So it's getting pretty dark, as you can see, but I'll make it quick. If you want to make all this practical, there's basically two things you need to do. The first one is you need to start regulating your nervous system. That means you actively work to slow down your breath, etc. Cultivate a capacity for stillness within yourself by breathing through your nose consistently, doing yin yoga every so often. I really recommend that one, it's amazing. Basically getting your nervous system into a state where it doesn't experience your emotions as a literal physical danger, but just as discomfort. The nervous system sees things as either a threat or as something that you can be safe with. And if you see your own emotions as a threat, you're always going to have problems. So that's the first thing to do. The second thing is that you need to figure out that real vision so that you know and have a criterion for making real decisions instead of being guided by every feeling that pops up, every temporary wave carrying you somewhere. That basically means you need to look at your values. What do you really value? What do you really care about? Creativity, truth, freedom, etc, etc. And then you turn that into a vision. How do you make those values valuable to the world around you? When you've done that, you break it down into goals, you break it down into daily habits, and you take real action. The more you take real action, the more results you're going to get. And the more you'll be able to guide those feelings into where your awareness wants you to take them, rather than them guiding you to some unreal place that you never want to be. Okay, so this light is getting quite ridiculous, so I should actually stop making this video before I die, and then I don't feel anything ever again. But I hope this video helps you. Basically what we're talking about is the fact that people make their feelings complicated. They fear their own feelings because the nervous system freaks out, and so they either repress it and suppress it, or they do something unreal with it just to get the energy out of them. Instead, the real approach is to observe the wave. Let the wave go where it needs to go. Then you can make a conscious choice based on your values and your principles about what you want to do that's going to actually serve you. If you live like that, you can still feel your feelings. We're not talking about avoiding our feelings, being robots. but you're not going to be mastered by your feelings. You can master yourself, live a real life, and then you can come outside and walk around in the mist, like an idiot. If this is the last video I ever make, I just want to say thank you for watching. Thank you for everything over the years. Never forget you, and peace to you.